Hello, everyone. I'm host Harpreet, and I'll be speaking to one of the eminent bloggers and speaker in the industry today, Mr. James Thomas. Welcome, James.
Hi, Harpreet. Thank you. Eminent blogger. I like that. Thanks.
It will be my pleasure to hear his thoughts on the upcoming talk in GTR 2022, which is on 9th, 10th, and 11th December, where he'll be speaking on the topic Walking the Talk, a random exploration of Chatbot API. Before we know more about this topic he has chosen, let's have a quick round of introduction. James, can I request you to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm James Thomas. I'm Vice President at the Association for Software Testing, and I'm a tester at a company called Ada Health, who are based in Germany. I've done all sorts of roles in software development, including development. I've been a dev manager, I've written technical author, I manage technical author teams. I have run the website, I've done tech support, but testing is where I feel at home. I feel really pleased that I kind of landed in testing. And what I really love about testing is the combination of technical, social, and intellectual challenges and the way those three things all interact.
Thank you, James, for quickly introducing yourself. Let me remind audience that James has chosen a very interesting topic to speak in the conference, which is walking the talk, random exploration of Chatbot API. Can I request you to share some insights so that our testers know what they can look forward to by attending this session in GTR 2022?
Yeah, sure. So Ada Health, who I work for, their product is a medical symptom checker. And that's an app, or in our kind of business version of the product, it's a web page or web integration where a user will enter a few personal details and then answer questions about their current symptoms. And then Ada will suggest a set of conditions, so ways in which they might be ill. And we call that an assessment. And it's a kind of turn-based thing where the user will say something and Ada will ask a question, the user will say something and Ada will ask a question. And I was on a project where I was testing an API for a text-based version of that, so something you could use in a chat interface. One of the things about this product is that there's an extremely large number of possible assessments, because there's vast numbers of users with different symptoms of different ages in different parts of the world and so on, and they can be asked a lot of different questions and give a lot of different answers to the same question. So there's a massive combinatorial explosion. So there's kind of interesting risks around a product that works in that space, and the risks I'm going to talk about are risks of unintended consequences of changes. If you imagine one particular path through that big space of possible assessments, if you make a change to fix something in a bug in one of those paths, how do you know you haven't broken something elsewhere in that massive space? How can you proactively go and look for edge and corner cases in that space? And how, given that there are so many possible assessments, how can you exercise the API for this service heavily to give yourself some confidence that you've explored that space well? And so I wanted something that could help me answer those questions while I was doing my exploratory testing. And what I came up with was I built a client for the API, which I call a walker, that would randomly walk through assessments. And it would do that unattended and look for potential problems or gather data that I could then look at later and explore that for potential problems. And in the talk, I'll quickly describe that kind of problem space and the way that I built the walker by iteratively adding functionality. As I add a new testing question, I would try and make the walker do something that could help me to explore that. I added very verbose login so I could explore that data. I added configuration so I could point it in different directions. And I also then reused the tool for load testing. So I think in a nutshell, that's probably it.
Thank you so much, James, for talking about it. It sounds really interesting and I'm really excited about it. Can I spend a few more minutes and if you can allow me to ask more questions, not related to conference, but maybe outside our conference, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What is the phrase, motto, or a quote that you live by?
Oh, that's a good one. I like congruency. So that's something I got from reading Jerry Weinberg. And the idea is that in any action that you take, you should consider both yourself, the other person, assuming there's some kind of interaction, and the context, and try and balance your behavior so all three are considered equally.
Thank you, James. And the next question I would like to know is, if you had got one superpower, what would that be, and why do you need that superpower?
That's a good one as well. I guess it would help me at work if I could tell where all the bugs were.
Okay. Thank you. And what is that you're aiming to learn as soon as possible? Something that excites and which you plan to do next.
Well, again, just to kind of tie it back to work, the project that I'm describing in the talk was the first iteration of me building a walker, but I've actually moved on and built a second one on the project that I'm on now, which is working a lot better. And that one is particularly using a technique called model-based testing. We have a separate model of the application of the test and then some code to navigate around that model. And I'm really enjoying thinking about ways to make that work better. And I think having a testing question and then finding a way to explore it using the tool, that's the thing that I want to learn next. It's what do I need to know in order to help me explore the thing that's in front of me, the next most important thing.
That's amazing to know. I'm sure we are getting to hear more thoughts and as soon as that model is ready. What are your views on the work from home? It's a generic English.
Yeah, well, I'm fully remote now. I'm living in Cambridge in the UK, but I work in Germany. I work for a German company. And I think for me, it suits me pretty well. And I think it's definitely got pros and cons. I mean, the lack of social interaction with your colleagues is a definite con for me, but the advantages are great. You know, it's very convenient, particularly around family life. I've got children. It really helps me there. I think it suits different people differently, but generally I'm in favor of the option where it's possible.
Thank you, James. Can you share something about when you started as being a blogger and how your journey had? Or any
Yes.
other interest and hobbies that you have?
Well, let me talk about hobbies. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm on the board at the Association for Software Testing. So my kind of hobby outside of work really is testing. I've been on the board at the AST for about 4 years. And one of the things that I've brought in, or kind of instrumental in bringing in, was a membership model that emphasizes diversity and inclusivity. And so we have a pay what you can model now. When I first joined, it was relatively expensive, particularly for some countries in the world, for people to become members, but we have a much more accessible membership model now, and I'm really, really proud of that. I really like AST because it's dedicated to context-driven testing, and that's something that really excites me. The idea that when you move to a context, you have to take that completely into account before you decide how to test. You can't just do the thing that you always do, because it just might not be appropriate in the context that you have.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much for giving time and giving overview of the upcoming talk and giving your precious time to talk about it. And I'm sure, like me, there would be many others who would be excited and who would look forward to it in GTR 202. Thank you so much, James.
Yeah, no problem.